Hello and welcome back everyone to Adobe Live from the sofa. I'm based here in London and today we have Rufus and Craig in our stream. So hi Rufus, hi Greg. How are you
Hey
today?
everyone. Hey Craig.
Hey everyone. Hey, how are you doing?
Yeah, I'm good. Rufus is based in Italy, Craig is based in Scotland. So how is life these days?
Good, good. We're getting our first day of sunshine here in Scotland, but it's a pity that we have to stay indoors. So I'm just glaring outside, quite jealous. But everything's good. Everything's positive.
Great.
And let's keep it positive with these daily live streams here on the on behance.net/live with UK artists. We've started on Monday with our first stream. So if you want to see the replays of our guests from Monday and Tuesday, feel free to scroll down the page. Not now, because now it's Craig here on the stream, but later you can see all of the replays. So hey Flynn Tracy. Flynn is from Australia. Wow, he's checking how we're doing here in the UK. Good evening, Flynn, I guess. Very, yeah. Australia? What time is it in Australia? Anyway, Kelly, I'm so sorry to hear that you've been furloughed. So yeah, it is a good time to watch these live streams, and I hope we can bring some interesting inspiration into your daily routine. Yeah, I hear a lot of people are being furloughed right now, so that is not a good thing. But yeah, we're here, and hopefully the community can stand together and that we can all help each other. So welcome, and yeah. Oh, hey, D. Hi, also in Scotland, D. Flynn. Okay.
I better say a quick hello to Flynn Tracy, because I know Flynn from Australia. So
okay,
I'll give a thumbs up. He's a good friend of mine.
Oh, and Jack Watson made it in time. Keith is here. Oh, it's evening, 10 p.m. in Sydney. Okay, Flynn. So not too bad. Not too bad. It's like your good night story, Flynn. Abby, James, awesome to take a break and hear from other creatives around the world. Spread creative positivity. Exactly. That's what we are here for, to spread creative positivity. And Craig, we've met, I think, last year at OFF in Barcelona.
Yes, we did.
And we're going to be looking at some of your work anyway, like while you present yourself. But do you have an image of the car that you filled with type?
I do.
Okay. So okay, Flynn, Craig, take it from here, and
okay,
and let's yeah, present yourself. Who are you? What are you doing?
So. Big pressure. So my name's Craig Black. I'm an independent designer, lettering artist and typographer. I'm based in a small town called Gourock in Scotland. It's a beautiful little coastal town. It's about 45 minutes away from Glasgow. So yeah, I work from my home studio, as you can see around me. But unfortunately, I'm going to get kicked out of this studio soon because I've got a little girl on the way. So my wife's pregnant, which is amazing, exciting news. So I need to find a new studio soon. So my work kind of spans between branding, packaging, installation, murals, everything in between. Anything to do with typography and lettering, I kind of play with, which is great. My kind of clients range from your local to your international big brands and agencies, which is fantastic. And I do the work from my home studio, which is amazing. And I used to be doing a lot of traveling, but right now I can't, which is unfortunate. But yeah, I've got you can see my screen, can't you? You can see my portfolio. Is that right?
Yep.
So if you go, like, craigblackdesign.com is my portfolio website, and you can get a range of all the kind of artworks that I do. This one here, To Infinity and Beyond, I'm going to go into that in more detail later on and show the audience how I created this piece of work. And that's a lettering mural for Made Brave Design Agency in Glasgow. Over here is that an installation I created for OFF. I like creating a lot of these kind of lettering installations. That's been a big part of my work over the past few years. So these are like made out of MDF, 3D kind of installation form. This London Calling is acrylic fusion work. and here is the off car, which I did when we met you guys. So I'll click on this and give you a wee detail of it. So this project was, oh, it's getting a bit blurry. Hopefully it gets better. There we go. So that is actually Tina Tui, who was on yesterday.
Yep.
So Tina gave me a helping hand when I made this car. So this car was for Off Vessel and one of the sponsors, which was Maritz, the beer brand. So they have this iconic, like Seat 400 car. And a couple of days before I was coming out to Off to do a talk, they asked me to create a lettering piece on this car design and basically capturing the excitement of Off Vessel and Barcelona. And I was like, yes, like cool, let's do it. So having 3 days to do it, which was a short time to do something like this, but it was a challenge that I accepted. And I remember getting there on the first day, and I don't know if you guys remember, but it rained pretty heavy. So I couldn't paint at all on the first day. And I did my talk on the first day later in the afternoon. So came the second day, and I was inundated with a lot of people asking me questions and various things like that. So I was holding these conversations, as well as trying to paint on a car. So it was super challenging, and that's why I got Tina involved to help me paint it. It was all hand painted using a Posca paint pen. Actually, a little small one. I should have used a bigger one, but I prefer using a smaller one. And the word Barcelona was actually hand created in pencil, and then I took it to pen, and then I scaled it up in size in Illustrator. But I remember getting the dimensions for the car, and it was wrong when I turned up. So the lettering piece is actually bigger than the car itself. So on the day, I think it was on the second day I was there, I had to like problem solve as we do as creatives and try and figure this out. So it took me a long time trying to get the Barcelona aspect to it on the car. And then the fun part started commencing, and it was colouring in, which was amazing and really fun to do. And the cool thing about it was such an engaging kind of piece of work across the festival. So many people were taking selfies with the car. It's all such a huge part of the festival as well. So it was really, really cool to do. And it is probably one of the most favourite projects I've ever done. And I was hoping to drive it back to Scotland, but unfortunately that wasn't allowed. But yeah, that was an incredible piece to do. And then, yeah, we met on that time at the festival as well. We did an Adobe session. Don't know why that image is bloody. And that was the first time we met, wasn't it? In Barcelona.
Yep.
So I'll go back to.
And I remember on day 2, it was the blistering sun and it was super hot, right?
And you imagine me being in that blistering sun, I had sunburn at the same time. My wife was saying, like, make sure you get sun cream on. I was like, oh, okay.
Yeah, and you didn't.
Yeah, I didn't know. So this piece here on the right was for Off Vessel as well. That was part of the book that they had. And then these are several other projects. So this here was a mural design. I'll go into this one for Robert Burns. So Robert Burns is probably Scotland's most famous creative, you could say. He died a long, long time ago, but he's Scotland's famous poet. And the Scottish government commissioned me to do a lettering mural to celebrate Robert Burns' work, because we have a Burns night here, which gets celebrated across the world. So I created this campaign, doing this kind of piece of artwork. If you go on my website, you can watch the video as well. But this was quite an interesting project, because 5 days beforehand, this was going to be an indoor mural. And then 3 days beforehand, it was going to be an outdoor mural. So I thought, okay, I can adjust to that. And then 2 days beforehand, it had to be a portable outdoor mural. So I had to think of a way of how, basically the project was getting launched in Glasgow, and then it had to get taken down and taken elsewhere to a place called Ayrshire, which is Robert Burns' hometown. So I had to problem solve and figure out how to do this. And I had to ask for a lot of help, because on the last day, it was just so challenging doing all the painting. So I asked for a help from the creative community, and I got 10 designers come and help me paint this, which I'm hugely grateful for. And that was an awesome project to work on. And that was last year or the year before. So that was one cool project. What else have we got? So we've got. So this one here was an installation I created for the AGDA tour. So last year, was it November time? I did an Australian tour, speaking tour. So I spoke in 6 cities, sorry, across Australia, basically doing the same talk that I did it off. And this was the kind of announcement of it, which was pretty cool. This was a fun project. I'll click into this one. This is the art truck. So this truck here was a project for Rig Arts, which is based in Scotland. It's a social enterprise aimed at providing art classes to underprivileged kids across Scotland. So they came up with this idea of providing like a mobile classroom and touring around Scotland to educate kids in art and just exciting creating stuff as well. So, but they had this big launch date, and I got a crazy deadline, which was 5 days to come up with this. So they said, Craig, can you create a mural on the side of our truck? It's got to say Rig Arts. It's got to have 7 colours in it. And also, can you fit in their brand Chameleon as well? I was like, cool, let me come up with something. So I started painting on this truck. And a little tip, exterior paint doesn't work on metal. So I started painting exterior paint on this, and it was terrible. So I had to finger on my feet and get spray paint, and I started spray painting this design. And for over 4 days, I was locked up in a warehouse doing this. But it was well worth it because they launched this at an event last year, and the kids absolutely loved it. And it was so rewarding seeing the excitement and the smiles in their faces. And just before, obviously, the coronavirus, but this truck was touring Scotland and making a massive impact. So it's projects like that are really special, and it's amazing to be a part of. What else have we got? So we're moving down.
Jack is actually saying, that's my biggest fear. I'm working on a vehicle wrap right now, and the wrap vendor doesn't have a template for the vehicle, so I had to make my own from dimensions.
And how
do you have a tip for him?
Make sure he gets dimensions right time and the first time. I think that what I've done this before, and the situation I had is when you work with a printer, just make sure they can basically use the assets in the same visualization you've got it, because they'll be able to see it much better in full scale. So just make sure you're communicating well with the printer and testing it beforehand, especially if they don't have the dimensions. That's the best advice I could give. And always try and print to scale, because the amount of times you do something on a digital screen and then it goes on to something bigger, it might not work as good. So always test that way. Cool. This is another mural I did in Australia 2 years ago. An installation I created, the Deerhead series, branding work, packaging work for a whiskey brand, mural designs, installations, so varied different kind of work that I do. This is kind of acrylic fusion work, which has become a part of my kind of process now. Getting commissioned by exhibition, gallery spaces, private commission to do this piece of work, which is cool. Various mural designs. Yeah, like I'm constantly, as you can see, I don't have a definitive style, and I've pride myself on that, because I am the sort of person who constantly loves a challenge, and I love pushing the boundaries of what I'm capable of doing. And I think that's really, really important to say, because especially in this time where people are like so focused on, like before people were like focused on a specific niche, say like an illustrator doing editorial, like now that people are losing kind of jobs and clients and stuff like that, this is a good time to diversify your portfolio. So if you're an illustrator, for instance, how can that illustration go across branding? How can it go across packaging, motion design? So that kind of thought process is a really, really good thing to go through right now and think about where you want to go. And it's benefited me previously, because now I'm getting to work on, I've got like 3 or 4, 5 different projects I'm doing right now, which are branding, packaging, and actual digital printed mural design, which is cool. So that's obviously, I can't be in an office and paint on a wall. So it's thinking differently. So it's problem solving. So yeah, like that's been a big thing for me, is being able to diversify my work and showcase different kind of pieces of art, which I can do. So yeah, that's kind of a quick run through. Also, what I can do is play my showreel, see if that works.
Let's see if it works.
We have a question from Megan. She's asking, how do you get the ideas for tour murals?
What was the last part?
No, for your murals.
For my murals, these. Do you know what? I try and stay away from Pinterest, Instagram, and all that stuff. I kind of let my mind take in the world. So usually, what I tend to do is explore life. I was going to say life outside, but obviously we can't go outside just now. But just general walks of life, architecture, looking outside of the design world, and try and gain inspiration from that. And I always try and push the boundaries of what I can do. So if I come up with an idea, I try and take it for that initial value, but what can I push it further? Can it mean texture? Can that be involved? Can there be gradients involved? The ideas? It's a accumulation of different things come together to create an idea. It's never such a one thing. But I always try and look outside the box, look outside your general Pinterest and Instagram and social media, try and look at books even, and it doesn't have to be a design book. Look at even illustration books, or poetry, cooking books. Like
what are those books you talk about?
You know what?
No,
I was a crazy kind of way that, see the acrylic fusion stuff that I do, I'll go back here. So, which is this kind of piece of work where it's like the acrylic paint mixing together. I was actually inspired by my wife's gym leggings. So she had a pair of gym leggings, which was these crazy colors and patterns. And it was some sort of fashion brand. And I was like, how cool is that? And I remember my wife came in from work one day and I was like, Ali, give me your gym leggings. And she's like, what? I was like, just give me your gym leggings. And it was a bit odd, as you can imagine. But that was the source of my inspiration for going on and building acrylic fusion pieces of work. And because my idea was thinking, how can type evolve with that pattern? And then I thought, how can I make that pattern? So I basically got paints together and experimented, and I was literally throwing paint together, and I created like interesting designs and patterns. So this is the actual main design, the first piece of lettering installation of the acrylic fusion artwork that I did. And this is where the inspiration came from. So in fact, I'll play this quick video, see if it plays. Okay. Hopefully it loads. Oh.
Yeah, we can't hear the sound, so we can talk over it.
So as you can see, it was literally throwing paint on a board and filming it on an iPhone. So it was lo-fi. It wasn't like high-tech equipment. It was literally having fun and experimented. But from this piece of work, this has led to a whole range of artworks now, and I'm getting commissioned off the base of a personal project. So that's another thing I want to share is like, I'm a big, huge believer in doing personal projects, because personal projects can lead to commission work. All the commission work that I've ever got has actually came from a personal project. It's always been the same. And I'm a big believer in that. And especially in this time that where people have downtime or they've got more spare time on their hands, like this is an amazing time to experiment, try new things that you've always wanted to do, but don't be afraid to do it. I remember like I used to be kind of hung up thinking about the end design, the finished product. But when I started this piece of work, I had no idea how it was going to turn out. But I was just enjoying the process. And that's the thing about it, is going with the process and see where it can take you. And like I said, this personal project has led to installation works, but it's also led to editorial work, branding work, based off acrylic fusion. So it just shows you it doesn't have to be that one thing and that one area. It can translate to other areas, but it's trying to take that element and think bigger each time. So that's a kind of great way of doing personal projects, which is quite interesting.
We have Jonathan asking, or he's saying, did you always have such interesting projects to work on, or do you also do flyers for dentists, etc.?
When I flyers for dentists, when I first started out, for the first 2 or 3 years, no one knew who I was. I practiced and practiced and practiced typography and lettering, working on my craft, just practicing more and more personal projects. And what I would do is I would reach out to family and friends, local businesses, anyone at first, to see if I could enhance their business through branding, through packaging, flyers, poster designs, anything I could do, because at the end of the day, whether it's a dentist or a butcher or a hairdresser, that is professional work. It really is. It doesn't have to be your biggest brands in the world. It could be your next door neighbour's business. And that's important to share, because that's where I started. I started at that lower level, and then over time you build a portfolio and you get bigger, you get better at your work, you get better at your craft. And it's a process. It's not as if you just come out of university and college and it's like, oh, I'm working with this big brand or this big project. It's a step-by-step process. So yes, I worked on flyers and poster designs, but that's a time for experimenting as well and trying things that you maybe couldn't do in a professional line of work right now. So it's a good way of experimenting and trying new things. So I highly agree in trying to do working with your local businesses as well.
And then it's a sort to go back to the local businesses and to share your talent and your expertise with the local businesses again. You know, like also, almost like side work again. So basically, it's giving back to those people who are at the beginning, you know, really helped out. Like I myself started with doing business cards for the local pub and the local tattoo artist and things like that. And it's always nice afterwards to go back to them and see if you can help further.
I totally agree. And this project here was actually one of my very first kind of collaborations. This was for Slick's Barbershop in Glasgow, and they basically started as a barbershop, didn't know how to reach a target audience and how to stand out amongst a competitive crowd. So they came to me saying, Craig, can you help us with this problem? And I came up with the idea of doing a lettering window mural. This is probably the third version that I've did over the years of this kind of window mural, but it all started off with these two guys. They've now went on. So I remember doing this window mural. I've not got it on file. I can't remember what it was, but it was a small window, right? It was only about 1 meter high or whatever. And it took me about 4 days to do this. And I get paid in haircuts. So I got 5 haircuts out of doing this work. But that project was a time for me to experiment, and they let me do my thing. And because of that, it put their business on the map. And it also put me on the map as well. I remember getting picked up on blogs and several publications, and I got work off the back of it. So I didn't necessarily get paid. I get paid in haircuts, which is a good deal at the time. And then over time, that company has now went from 2 to 15 barbers in that shop. They've opened up 4 other stores across Scotland. They're now one of the most successful barber shops in Scotland. And it all started when I was there and because of the work that I did. So you never realise, maybe at that time, the impact that you're making. So if you can work with your local business, you don't know, you honestly have no idea how far it can go. So I do recommend doing it. And I love these guys, and I love the opportunity to do projects like this. So this gives them, I don't know, credibility and a portfolio or a platform to share their work as well. So yeah, getting back to the whole working local businesses, it's a great way to get going, definitely.
Bartos is asking, hello from Croydon. Love your choice of typography across your portfolio. Have you got your favorite typeface, or do you draw separate letters?
I don't have I do love Gotham, right? I'll be honest. I do love Gotham. That's a kind of really nice, solid choice for me. But I don't use it in every project. I use it for anything specific or a baseline. But every project is different. Every brief is different. So you can't use the same font for every project. You need to be able to think differently, and not every typeface is perfect for whatever brand it could be, because a serif typeface could give off a different feeling or motive or whatever compared to a sans serif. So it depends on the project and the client and what that brief is. So, but usually what happens is I get approached to do word marks for brands or even a font. So it maybe start from inspiration, from looking at fonts previously that have been made, but using that as an inspiration and then turning that into my own piece of artwork and design. So yeah, I prefer to customize and create my own pieces of lettering as time goes on. But yeah, I don't have a specific one, other than I have a favoritism for Gotham just because I like it more than anything.
Awesome. And I know, Craig, you also had like, you were planning to show us some, like how you do some things. So maybe an Illustrator?
Yep. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to speak about this project, which was To Infinity and Beyond lettering mural. There's a mugshot of me. And so this mural design was for Made Brave Design Agency in Glasgow. They asked me to create one of their brand values, which was To Infinity and Beyond, and basically illustrate that in my own interpretation. And this would be painted in their office, the first wall in their office. So I had this idea, I'm just showing you this idea of like the two words overlapping but representing the same thing. So the words beyond, see this, literally goes beyond the word infinity. And the word infinity itself in this 3D aspect comes out of the wall, and then combined together creates an interesting overlay in design. So I did this project, I think it was early last year. But when I started painting this mural design, I actually made a big mistake. So as you can see, it's a big, beautiful yellow wall. When I walked in, it was a white wall. And I knew I had to put this yellow colour down first. So I remember going to the paint shop and I asked the paint specialist, can you create this yellow paint for me? He said, yes, certainly. Here you go. And then he said this to me, do you know you need a grey paint primer to put on the wall first to make the yellow stand out? And I was like, my gut was telling me that's not right, no. But he's a paint specialist, so I trusted him. So I remember getting that grey paint, going back to the studio, started painting the wall in grey, and my gut was feeling, oh, this is horrible. And then I tried putting the yellow on top, and it was horrific. The grey was shining through the yellow. So, but the thing is, the next day, there was a film crew coming in to film me paint this mural. And I had to go to the owner, Andrew Adobe, who's a brilliant guy. And I was like, Andrew, I've made a big mistake here. I put this grey paint down. This yellow is not working. What I need to do is basically repaint it in white, 3 coats, and then get it back to yellow. So that night I had to do 2 coats white, 3 coats yellow, and just to get it to this point. It was horrific. And then the next day the film crew came in and filmed me doing all this. So that shows you that these things don't go to plan. But I did learn not to use grey paint primer ever again. So to create this mural, it was first created in Illustrator, and I'm just going to show you the images now so you can just get an idea of what happened, and I'll go through it all. So it was a stage-by-step process, and it was all hand-painted. Also, painting white paint onto yellow needs multiple coats to make it stand out. So that was about 3 or 4 layers of paint as well. So that's another tip. So yeah, how did I create it?
So basically, there's 2 inches of paint on that wall now.
Yeah, there really is. As you can see, it stands out vividly, and I had to make it do that as close as possible to the design. So I had this idea when I first created this design was to do a kind of scripted lettering aspect and a sans serif and combine the two. So what I did here, if I get the image up, is this is a pencil drawing. So anytime that I do any piece of work that I do, any lettering or typography work, I always start with pencil and paper. it's my go-to. I always do it, and I sketch out all my ideas this way. This is one of the early designs that I did for this design, all in pencil design. And you can faintly see like kind of guidelines what I did for this. These are just faint guidelines. You don't need to adhere to them too much, because in lettering you can be more expressive and do things, but it does give you a good way of keeping balance. So I created this in pencil, and like I said, I'm quite traditional. So what I did was I took this pencil design, put it onto my light box, and then I put a piece of paper on top, and I outlined it in pen, in a micron pen. Have I got one here? I have, actually. Something like this, a little micron pen. And then I basically fill it in a black Sharpie, right? It's quite time consuming, but it's my process, and that's how I work. So when I get that kind of pen design, I scan it into Photoshop. But for time purposes, I'm just going to show you the letter B, which I've done here. So this is my, let me just hide this part. This is
so when you say you scan it, do you actually have a scanner, or do you take a picture?
Yes, I have a scanner in the right hand corner. So I scan it at 300 DPI, just because I guess the most, well, you can do 600, 1200, but for this, 300 DPI is more than enough. So let me just zoom in on this. So it's not letting, yeah, we're zooming in. You can see how wobbly it is. You can see the ink marks are spreading onto the paper and stuff. But it was all about this was to get the design to digital. That is the whole aspect of this. So every time that I have a pen design, I scan it into Photoshop. And what I do next is I play with the levels. So I'll take that away. I'll start again. I play with the levels. And the whole idea here is to get a contrast between white and black. Because what I'm going to do next is save this as a JPEG and take it into Illustrator. So what I do is I literally bring the white value up quite high, and then the black value up high. And can you see the contrast there? Yep. It was quite vivid with the black and the white. And then what I would do is I save that as a JPEG, and then what I would do is open it up in Illustrator. And here's one I made earlier. So let me just show you these two files. So that's the one with the levels, and that's the original scan. So the reason I do this is when I bring it into Illustrator, it's much easier to use the image trace tool, because this is where I take it into being a digital file. So I go to, hopefully I don't click off that, Window, Image Trace. So in Image Trace, you have lots of different options here. Personally, I don't even touch them, because I know I'm going to go into the lettering and I'm going to be changing the elements of it and the shapes of it. So all I do is I click Ignore White, and what I click is Trace, and I click OK. And then it's making the process just now. I'll just click off that, and let me. I'm just
going to answer Kirsty's question. She's asking, what does 300 DPI mean? Basically, it's the resolution of the image. It's 300 dots per inch. So basically, the more dots there are per inch, the more information there is. But 300 DPI is usually, you know, what you also use for print, or, you know, that's high enough also to do things like Craig is doing just now.
We have also Robert saying, I've been paid in whiskey and hot air balloon rides.
That's a good deal. Hopefully you're not drinking whiskey on the hot air balloon, because that could be quite dangerous.
For those below.
True. So from this image, this design, we've image traced it, and then I go into properties and quick actions. Then I click on expand. Oh, not expand. Is it expand?
Yeah.
Yes, it is expand. Sorry. And then what I do is expanded the shape, and then you can see this is just the excess area of the scan, and I delete this. So here we have a vector version of my letter B. As you can see, though, it's quite bumpy, and it's not ideal for taking to a large scale, because you want it to be smooth and as sharp as possible. Now, what I'm about to show you is probably the greatest tool in Illustrator, and this is my opinion, and it's the smooth tool. I've got a shortcut which is Command S, but you can get it over here, the smooth tool. So what this does is all your little bumps that you're part of the lettering design, it basically smooths it out. So what I'll show you here is just a quick, see how smooth it is, the edges are going now. This is absolutely amazing because I think, you may have to get me right here, but Illustrator like brought in the smooth tool a few years ago, and it's been a godsend. It's really helped my process and actually finessed my lettering work. So all I'm doing here is literally going around the edges and just smoothing out elements of the design. And this is really beneficial. And you can go in and fine tune here and there. Let me just go over these. Some bumps might not look right. So for instance, I'm going on the minus pen tool, if that's what you call it. So I don't like that kind of shape. So what I can do is I can go into the points and basically change the angles just to smooth it out.
Yeah, and you can also use the pencil tool over this.
Yeah.
Have you ever tried that?
I haven't. No.
Yeah. So basically, what you just did, like moving, like you can use the smooth tool to remove points, and then the pencil tool. Like try with the pencil tool.
The pencil
just to go over the line.
You just press P on your keyboard, then you get the normal, and then when you hover above the dot, then you see the minus popping up.
No, not this one. The pencil tool right next to the smooth tool you had.
Okay.
If you click on the smooth tool, all right, go down to the pencil tool, and then if you draw over it, like over the line, you can actually give it a new shape.
Right. Yeah. There you go. There, I'm learning as we go. Look, amazing.
And if you double click on the pencil tool, it'll come up with the smoothing options, and basically you can make it super smooth, and then you can actually draw over something that's imperfect and give it the exact shape you want. Yeah, there you go.
Well, that's amazing. That is incredible. This is going to change my whole life now. But I'll go back to the smooth just in case I get confused. So yeah, literally the whole process is going round each letter form and going around the edges and making sure everything is smooth. But what you're going to have to do is, what I do personally is I print out my designs and I see what it looks like on the wall. So I actually stand back a couple of meters and see how it looks, because it's good to see it printed, because you probably see imperfections that you maybe not seen digitally as well. And that's a good little tip, especially if you're bringing a design to life, such as a mural. And also what it does is you make sure you're aware of the weight in a lettering form. So the big thing that I do is I look at white space. So currently we're looking at the letter B, and predominantly people are looking at the black element to it. But what I'm doing is I'm looking at the white aspect to it and thinking about the ratio in between. Does it look even? Does it give it balance? All these different things that are quite as important as the kind of element of the lettering. So I always recommend printing out your artwork, put it on a wall, literally turn your back from it, walk away, and then turn back, because you'll look at it in a different way than you've done before. And these are all wee things that I do, which have helped my process, and literally just building from here. So this, as much as I'm going through this quickly, it can be a little bit time consuming, especially if I have a larger word, which would be beyond. But then you need to go in and basically fine tune certain areas. So you can see here how there's little bumps. Just playing with the handles, making sure it's straight, making sure it's balanced, all these kind of things. So when you get to a point where you feel like, oh, I'm quite happy with that, you come up with something like this.
Andrew from the Made Brave team, I can confirm the mural was cool in real life as it looks on screen.
Well, I'm glad he said that. Andrew did make me paint over my mural, because they moved studio, and it still breaks my heart that I had to do it. I can't believe how selfish he was in moving studio. I can't believe it. I'm only joking, Andrew. I'm only joking. But that's great if I'm tuning in. So this is...
We had a question
Yep.
earlier from Carolina. Do you have any advice on how to price yourself, especially get more experience and become more known? I think a lot of designers struggle with this, either to charge per hour or a fixed fee.
I think there's a lot of advice online as well, which obviously give different variations of how to price and stuff. I think what I did in my early days was I asked people for help, especially more experienced people, whether that's an owner of a design agency or another freelancer, and asking and trying to figure out what a ballpark area would be. So a good thing to do is maybe speak to 5 other freelancers who are maybe a couple of years ahead of you, and have a bit more experience, and ask what their kind of day rate is. And then from that, you can kind of gauge what's a good rate for you. The best way that I do it is when you're pricing, make sure the bottom line that whatever you give, that you feel happy with and you're comfortable with. You've got to remember, this is a business. You've got to pay bills. You've got to survive, obviously. But you can make a good living off this. And the whole point of it is to make sure that you make a profit at the end of the day. Obviously, I spoke about earlier on about doing barbershop and getting free haircuts as part of a project. Obviously, that's not going to pay my bills. But at that time, I had a full-time job. So that I was fortunate enough to have a full-time job and do that on the side. And I built up my portfolio that way. So that's a good way of gauging, obviously, experience of where you can go. But over time, the best thing to do is speak to other people and find out what a kind of day rate is, and then build from there. So if you're doing a lettering piece of work, and you know in yourself and you think that's going to take me 3 days to do, right? What you've got to account for also is project management. And what I mean project management is you talking to the client, you sending emails, you go over in a brief. You've got to calculate these things. That's probably, say, calculate an extra day on that. So that'd be 4 days in total. But also, it's in my opinion here, it's maybe not the same for everyone else, also add on an extra day as well, because you need to make profit. So take 5 days of work, and then whatever your day rate is for each day, and calculate that by 5, and that could give you a good ball point to go from. Pricing is so complicated, and as you go on, because projects can give it much more complicated. There's much more deliverables. Right? Even right now, projects I work on, it's not so simple anymore. Like, here's just a set fee because there's so many deliverables. But through time and experience, you just have a bit more confidence in your own ability, and you'll be confident enough to charge whatever fee that you seem advisable. So I could say to you £150, or I could say £500 a day. It's different to each single person. But what I would do is reach out to your community, reach out to people who are friends, who you know are a bit more experienced, and ask what they're charging, and then engage from that and figure out a figure that works for you. That would probably be my best advice on that. Hopefully that helps.
Yeah, and I think the one very important thing as well, don't underprice yourself ever.
Yeah.
And don't do speculative work. Like speculative work, I mean, you know, when 100 designers are working on the same project and one gets to do it for £100 at the end. Don't fall for that. You know, it's not worth it. It's just a loss of time. Some people call it experience. I don't call it experience. I'd much rather spend that time, you know, like working on a personal project, like, you know, like Craig did with his acrylics and stuff like that. So yeah, that's really important. Don't fall for these, you know, crowdsourced stuff for design and things like that. It's just a trap.
Yeah, my students did get that a lot, and I told them, if you feel it helps your portfolio, do it, and if not, leave it.
Like the most important, like I mentioned personal projects before, and it's really important to say this again, is when you're doing a personal project, like, okay, you could do it something that makes you happy, but you can also structure it in a way to represent your business and where you want to go. So for instance, say you're a lettering artist right now, and you want to do lettering work for editorial work. So you could do a personal project based on an editorial, and then showcase that to the world, and then push that towards publication house, design blogs, publication, anything you can imagine that does this kind of work, and showcase the work that you can do, and that you use that as a piece of business to push you forward. Like, personal projects are so important to do that, and then from that you build this portfolio over time. That's the way every piece of personal work that I do has a set kind of goal to push me forward and where I want to go as a business, and I think that's important to share.
We had a question from Kirsty earlier. If you're using vacuum?
Yes.
Yeah.
I am currently using a Wacom tablet, which is quite old school. It's an Intuos pen tablet. I've been using this now for 6 years. I'm surprised it's still working, but it's fantastic. It's easy to use for me personally. I've actually got a brand new Wacom tablet that Wacom gave to me, and it was great and it's good, but it didn't feel right to my original one, and that's okay, because right now there's so many advancements in technology, but just use what works for you. I keep getting back to my pencil and paper, like old school traditional stuff, and it works for me. So whatever works for you just feels comfortable is the best way going forward.
Munir asked, do you have specific designers that inspire you in your style?
Not necessarily my style, but people inspire me as, like, Tina Tui, who was on yesterday. Like, I think her work is fantastic. I love how she pushes the boundaries of type, how it makes me question whether, is that real or is that digital? How does that move? I love when people make me think about work, and I try to do that myself with my own work. I love what she does. I love the work of a guy called Michael Doré. Michael is a vastly experienced lettering artist. He's based out of California, and he's probably done a lot of the kind of Disney work, the movie titles that everyone's seen across the world. And he's the most kind of humble man you've ever met. Really, really nice. And his work is incredible. I recommend finding his Instagram handle. I'll share this out later. I can't remember what it is off the top of my head. And another guy who inspires me is a guy called Joe Stilsline. So Joe is an amazing executive creative director. He runs his own studio now in California, and he used to work with Nike. He was the head of design at Nike, Google, and various other big design agencies. So I'm also looking outside of type and lettering and finding inspiration and seeing how people build brand systems and brand logistics and all those kind of things as well. So, but the biggest thing about these people that inspire me is the personality as well. They're always willing to help, and they're nice people. And that, I just gravitate towards these people, and I think that's a good thing to have. So yeah, I would highly recommend checking out those people. Also, Ben Johnson, a good friend of mine, mural artist. I'm sure everyone's come across Ben's work. His murals are insane. Lovely guy, amazing work. You'll see him on Instagram. So check out their stuff. Yeah, that's cool.
And Jonathan is asking if you have tried doing stuff on the iPad.
Do you know what? I just started. So my wife got me an iPad for Christmas, and I recently started playing about with it. I was very nervous at first. I don't know why. Just because I'm used to pencil and paper, and it was like, oh, I'm doing this digital now. It's been a game changer, to be honest. So I mentioned before how I penciled the design and then I ink it with a micron pen and I fill it out in black pen. Now what I can do is I can take an image of my pencil drawing, take it onto the iPad and go over it in pen in the digital format, and it speeds up that process so quickly. It's incredible. So yeah, I just started using it, and it's something I want to do more. So yeah, it's something I'm going to experiment more in time, but it's a great thing to have. Should I continue on with this project?
Let's continue with beyond. Let's go beyond.
So
Infinity.
The next part was the Infinity. So tried out different fonts and stuff and try to find out what works. I tried the serif. Didn't think the serif worked, but this is where I got to, which was, can't remember the exact font, but essentially was taking this Infinity type design and creating it 3D. So I'll just do a quick tutorial. I'll take this into a new page. Oh, there we go. One prepared earlier. So all I did here was, basically what I've done here is Command Y and showing the outlines of my design. What I tend to do in Illustrator is I always flip between the two just to show that everything is joined up and everything makes sense. So what I'm doing here is I'm clicking on the design, I'm holding an Alt and then Shift, and then bringing a duplicate version at an angle, just say here. And what I'm going to do here, just for colour sake, is change the colour of it so we don't get confused. And what I'm going to do is send this to the back, the first dark blue version to the back. So another way of doing that is I'm going to Command Z, and I'll move this down a little bit, go to my layers panel. So you can see the two versions here. So you've got the front version, that's at the top. So if you move that behind, there you go. So what I did here to create the 3D type is literally use the pen tool. There's various different ways of doing this, but this is just a preference for me. So what I do is I Command Y. So I'll go back to my outlines. So what I want to do is match this point to the other point of the type. So matching each point up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And what I'll do is Command Y, change it to pink, say. And what I'm doing is creating the shadow effect of this type. So Command Y again. And what I want to do is take this point here and to match this point here, to this point here, to this point. So I'm basically matching the two type designs together to create this 3D effect. So it's much easier to do this in the outline version. And then
Tina Tooley in the house.
Is she there?
Oh,
Hey,
Tina.
T.
Hi, Tina.
Hello, T. So I'll just quickly do this. And then Command Y. So as you can see, as at the forefront here, and what I'm going to do is take these three path shapes and move them behind. Oh, one too far. Oh, move like that. So what I'm doing is I'm going to colour that shading in here. So all I'm doing now is creating the shapes. I maybe didn't need to do that back shape there, but what I'm just doing is I'm creating all these shapes so it makes sure that I've got them just in case. So basically it's just a process of building here, 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 and here. So that's what it is. It's quite simple and it's quite effective. And then you get to this point here, which is the infinity. So I'm going to just copy and paste this just for time's sake. Get rid of the swatches, get rid of this. So I know, oh, back in the middle of the screen. As you can see in my left hand, there's lots of little panels here. What I've done is I've grouped all of it. And the reason I'm going to do that is because I'm going to skew the type. I wanted this type to be an angle on the wall. So let me, if I can remember how to do this. I go to highlight the whole piece of type. And where do I find shear? Shear is here. Shear is here. I didn't mean that. Oh, my pre-settings have kicked in. So what I've done here is at the shear angle, 350 degrees. The axis vertical is at 90 degrees. So as you can see, originally it's horizontal, and with the preview, it shows you the angle. So the shear tool is an amazing tool to use for creating 3D shapes and angles, and this is what I've done. So going to shear 350 degrees, 350 degrees, sorry, vertical at 90 degrees, and it gives you that. So now I've got my basis for the infinity part. So when I did this project, this is one of my early designs of the word beyond, and as you can see, it's a bit too crazy. My idea behind this was a lot of movement, a lot of stuff, because I wanted the word to go beyond. So I did this and I was like, oh, this is cool. Let's see where I can take it. So this is one of my artboards, early artboards. And as you can see, I had a set of brand colours to adhere to. It's just not legible. You can't even see it or read it at all, which is just a bit crazy. So I thought to myself, I need to strip this back and bring it back to its original form, which you've seen earlier. So what I started to do is try to experiment. How can I work this two type together? And it took me a while to crack it. I'm not going to lie. As you can see, I've got multiple artboards, different colours, different positioning. And also, like, I had 5 or 6 colours to try and work it with. Oh, sorry, here's a colour panel here. And I just couldn't get it for a while. But eventually, I got there, and I got to this point.
How long did it take you?
Oh, it took me probably a couple of days of going backwards and forwards with Made Brave, going, what do you think of this? What do you think of that? The type was right, the infinity and the beyond was right, but the colour scheme, the overlay just wasn't, and the scale wasn't correct. So we're just fine tuning. So I got it to this point and I felt, I think that we've got something here, because we wanted to have this yellow background and the kind of pink colours coming through. So what I've got here is the word beyond. So this is the outline and the word infinity on top. So, but because I knew this was going to be a mural, overlay colours do not work in the real world. What you need to do is make that as a solid or a spot colour, for instance. So what I did was, here's just another artboard. Let me see if I've done this right. So we've got the word beyond and then infinity on top. So what I did was I basically selected both type designs. I went into Pathfinder and I went to divide. And what that's done is that has all the parts of this type is now separated into individual parts. And this is really important because, like I said, when you're doing a mural design, you can't have an overlay effect. You can, but it'd be super challenging. So the best way to doing it is creating it into solid colours. So what I did was literally every overlay piece, selected each one of those, and then I went to my colour panel, which was, say, this pink. And then, as you can see, it looks as if it's got that overlay effect, but it's an actual spot colour because I know I had to use this in real life, in real colours. So then, doing that, Command Y again, you can see it's all broken up. And it's just taking time going round and making sure that this pink here and this pink here matches with this pink. And then what you see, this dark pink here, or purple even, would be this purple. Hopefully I've got these colours right. But as you can see, it's starting to create this overlay effect with spot colours. And then I get to the point here, and this is the final design. Let me get rid of this. So this is the final design which I sent to the client, which is Made Brave. Command Y says broken up all to different parts. It's all solid colours. And this is the design which I will now take, well, actually I did take onto the projector. And I projected it onto the wall via a JPEG or onto the screen, onto the wall, sorry. So, and when I got to the wall, let me just go back to my early designs. So that just got a wee JPEG, wee GIF showing the two designs together. So yeah, I projected it onto the wall, penciled it on, and then I started to paint on the inside. So as you can, I spoke about it earlier on, multiple layers of paint, and it was just a building process from there. And it took me about 5 days, 5 full-on days of painting because I had to do multiple layers and because I made that big mistake. And
did it happen that, oh, damn, no, this should have been white? This is purple now. Oh no! Like, or do you put like little coloring by numbers? Like this is white.
Oh yeah. So I basically I marked out in each space like a number. Like I said, number 2 represents like purple, or number 3 represents dark purple, and all those signs. Because it's basically like a coloring book. That's the best way of putting it. It's a coloring book, but make sure that you obviously take your time and make sure you get everything right. Because there's always a problem trying to go back and colour things in. But what we did do at the end is we made this video to showcase the project. So what I'll do is I'll play it for you and I'll see if it brings it all to life and makes sense.
I have a question before you play it. Have you picked your colors based on what paint buckets were available, or did they mix your color that you created?
So the Made Brave had this brand colours that they wanted me to use, and it was those 6 colours. If I go back into my Illustrator file, it was these colours here, these 5 colours that I had to use. So the amazing thing about paint shops is I could go in with this colour, any kind of colour that I have, and they can match it as closely as possible to this, and that's exactly what happened. Is I basically went into the paint shop and says, can you give me this yellow, this pink? And that's what they did. So they custom made these paint colours. And to be honest, I've never ever had an issue getting a colour match. And the realisation is, going from digital to the real world of painting a mural, you're going to get very slight different issues, because paint on a wall can be different to a digital design. But as long as you and the client totally understand this, it's all part of the process, and it's also that hand element to it. So it all kind of ties in and worked well in the end. So what I'll do is I'll play this video, and hopefully it works. Get an idea of everything I have.
To life. Here's what we did.
So like I say, we don't hear any sound, so
My
if you want to
name's
talk
Craig Black.
over it.
I'm a graphic designer, lettering artist.
There's no sound on it.
Oh, there is sound.
Trainer
Okay.
agencies, and you can walk through the door.
I
and
can't
what you
hear
might have
any
seen on
sound.
social, or what
Can
you
you
might
not hear
see on
anything?
video like this, it doesn't quite
We
ring
can.
true. Here, it's ringing
Can the
true.
audience hear it?
Real, there are no egos.
Okay,
Values
cool.
is just the beginning. The
Okay.
word is just the beginning.
To infinity and beyond means dreaming big and working hard to achieve those dreams. Since the early days, we've been encouraged to really go for it no matter what we do. Whether it's making a crazy film for April Fool's Day or pitching a big idea to a client, if we've got a good idea, the only thing stopping us from doing it is ourselves.
I've known Made Brave for a good few years now. When Andrew spoke to me about the value, it really got me excited, because knowing about Made Brave is it's an energetic and exciting bunch. I wanted to articulate that in a cool design. When I approach a new project, I always try and take it for that initial value and how far I can take it further to give that extra value to the client. And that's just the exact same way I took this project on. Being an independent designer, collaborate with different people and different skill sets, and by doing that, that pushes my skill set further, and it's my thought process and how I want to do new things and new projects. So I'm always thinking 2 steps ahead of myself and try to go bigger and better.
For me, when I came for a job at Made Brave, it was the culture that really hooked me. It was really important for me to find an employer who shares the same core values as I do, so that I could really put down roots and be part of building the future. I'm loyal to brands not just because they have beautiful products and advertising, but because I truly believe in the values that inform all their creative decisions. But how do employers show that type of thing?
And it's all of the amazing stuff like we're doing here, or some of the clients that we're working with, the programs and the incentives and the culture that they're kind of generating and making that brings the values to life. And of course, it's the people that bring them to life. So you want to attract people that have similar values, so that you're this kind of gang of people that kind of all get on. You're slightly different, but you know, you've all got this kind of common vision and goal, and you're all adding value to it in your own way. Value, value, value.
So yeah, that is the project.
Wow. Pretty cool, Craig. And
Where
with
did
that,
the chicken come from?
Yeah,
Oh, no.
the office chicken.
It was part of an April Fool's project that Made Brave did. So I didn't see the chicken, to be honest.
I
Yeah.
thought you wanted to print the chicken feet on the wall as well as put it in a paint bucket.
That would have been fun, wouldn't it? One thing I want to say is a little tip is for anyone who's either creating a lettering piece of work, mural design, illustration work. A big thing that's happening now is showcasing the process behind it. So as you can see, that video showcased the process of me creating this mural. Brands and agencies are absolutely loving this for their own brands and stuff, because people are engaging, are seeing how things are created. So whether you're creating a personal project or one for a client, if you can showcase the behind the scenes, that is just as important as the final product, and it's just as valuable. So this is also part of my process now, and a part of my work. So everything that I do now is more or less got a video attached to it, or a process behind it. So showcasing that to the world, because I think it's also good to showcase what you're capable of doing, but also showing how it can be done. And that just becomes as part of a bigger value to the client. So as something you can take on board.
Whoa, Craig, we're at the end of our hour together today for our live from the sofa. In these trying times, trying to get some creativity across to our community. And I see that even on day 3, the community is present here in our chat and watching our live streams. And of course, we're here every day from noon to 1 with UK artists. So hopefully, you know, you can all join again tomorrow. And we have a new guest tomorrow, of course, and then on Friday as well, and for the coming weeks. So Stephanie, thank you so much for your help. And
thank you.
And Craig, always lovely to see your work and your process. I think, you know, the community here really. Oh, Andrew made Brave Chicken April's Fool's film. Oh, he put a link on it. Andrew, yeah. Okay, cool. And yeah, so Craig, thank you so much for your time today, and hopefully we'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Had a great time. And yeah,
great.
Thanks.
Thank you
Bye,
for
everyone.
watching.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.